from Reading in Berkshire at the home of the Wilkins family, we discover what it's like to be a fly on the wall.
The last episode of The Family, a working-class family, in fact, a real family that created extraordinary controversy and press curiosity.
Right. Margaret, I wonder whether... Could I just have one quick word from you? You know, there was a similar experiment done in America and it ended up in divorce and all the rest of it. Are you worried about this?
No, I'm not worried about it. Everybody keeps asking me the same question.
The American family that had a similar
here
thing.
we go
Yeah,
again.
I know.
Put your hand up on the line, look. If you do some work. Me. That's good.
If I could sit with Mum and Dad on either side of me, and then I can sort of move my mic
Oh, you
when
sit
I want
up
to
now.
talk to the others.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Oh, well, that was complete fabrication. She didn't come and ask for my autograph at all.
And,
my boss didn't
with
ask if
your-
I wanted
with
2
Chris?
days off. And that wasn't true either.
Have you felt no emotional stress whatsoever?
No.
Since last October?
No, none at all.
How'd you do?
Mrs. Wilkins.
Have a chat, can we?
Possibly,
I
but
hope so.
you mind chatting to me while I have my dinner?
Not a bit, not a bit. Wasn't it?
Well, before you say it happened in America, I'll tell you for a change.
I looked it up, yes.
And when they did it in America, of course, it did have terrible, disastrous effects.
Here we go again.
Here we go again.
No. We expected to get a few people who would criticise us. We didn't think they would be abusive. We thought Reading was above that. But we did expect criticism.
He's off again, Karen.
Some people
He'll be climbing up that wall in a minute and all along.
have not had
All the cracks we've had about the American family and all this trouble, well, we couldn't see how it happened. They must have been rather shaky when their programme first started, or all I can say is that the American television people went about it in a far different way to what you people have. There's no doubt about it.
be quite weepy when they finished, actually, at the
Yeah.
weekend. I should
Yeah.
feel rather sad. And but that hasn't been a strain. The things that have been a strain are like getting ready for our holiday, and I'd never been abroad before, and the wedding we
That
knew
wasn't
would
strange,
be
it
coming
was
off.
petrified.
Well, it's still a strain, isn't it? You know.
I'm not going back to being a bus driver. I've always been a bus driver while the series been on. So there's going to be no difference in that. The only difference will be that I won't walk home and see a camera staring me in the eyes as soon as I walk through the door, which I've had, and I've always had them follow me on the bus, as you know. But no, it won't make any difference to me. I mean, life will still carry on regardless of the cameras.
The Wilkins are still an ordinary family, despite contending with the pressures of fame and notoriety, recognition by not only the man in the street, but the famous.
Take out the papers and the trash.
All here. My goodness gracious. Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
You realise, of course, that I must tonight kidnap all your ladies.
Very nice of you.
Because I have learned to love them. I don't know which one I want yet, quite. Excuse me, I don't want to rush this. Immediately put that dress on. Too much. Too much. Too much. So, Mr. Boss, Mr. Wilkins, you're the governor, you're the boss. And how did you come to start off on the television?
Well, I didn't start. I think if you want to talk to someone who started it, it's the wife.
We decided that if we were fortunate enough to be chosen, we would all like to do it.
Did you fancy the idea of it? Was it a novel idea?
Not so much a novel idea as the fact that I thought it would be better for ordinary people to be able to do something instead of things done by actors and actresses and made up, set up, something real and natural. Financially, in the very beginning, we didn't expect to get anything out of it. We didn't even think there would be any payment made for doing the programme, actually. The only thing we did expect would be expenses, obviously, of usage of the house, this sort of thing. But as to getting a fee, we didn't expect one. And what we are getting, may I say, to the thousands of people who seem to think we're getting about £1,000 a programme, they're way off the mark. I wish it was.
Have you ever had an embarrassing moment?
I'm not too sure. I can't remember.
They never barged into the kip house when you was just like hoisting the keks on or anything like that? No. Do they knock before they come in the bedroom?
Well, always they knock before they open the door, but if they're filming us asleep, obviously we don't hear them, so we gave them a key to come into the house any time they wish.
Really?
And
day or night, anyhow?
Yes, they have a front door key.
In actual fact, it's turned out better than what we thought. We imagined when it first started there would be cables running all over the house, up and down the rooms, and big arc lights, you know, not just one single little bulb in the room like we've had all the time. So that way it's better, as far as we're concerned. The public on the whole have taken it quite well. We've had a few nasty comments, a few nasty letters. But basically speaking, I don't think it's upset anybody to that much anyway.
Ma'am, have you found any snags at all?
Yes.
What's the biggest snag you found?
The press.
I see, because you've got a big thing about the press, haven't you?
I have got a great deal, because you see, in our local paper, now I've got nothing personal against anybody who's writing in it, but they did what I feel is a smear campaign. May I seriously point out that the typical British family is still a moral family, believing in the reliable, old-fashioned ideas of right and wrong. To portray the Wilkins family as typical is to set before young people the degraded impression of what a family should be. To suggest that it is acceptable to indulge in premarital intercourse is to give young girls the idea that to lose their precious virginity is not wrong. I cannot see the necessity of prying into the private lives of any family, but if it is to be done, then why not choose a family with high ideals, intellectual pursuits, aesthetic appreciation and moral stamina?
Because it'd be boring.
Have you written about our friends at all in your paper?
Yes, I've written 2 articles, one of them fairly shortly after the first programme. And this programme really had a tremendous effect on the people of Reading because it was said that it was a typical family. I think this is what really...
May I disagree there, please?
The
press said it was a typical family.
Let me ask Paul. What do you say, Paul, about that?
The press have taken to their hearts this fact that it is supposedly a typical family. I have never said, and I originated this idea, that it is a typical family. How can any family be typical, untypical of what?
The only reason that we are not typical, I think, is because Marion and Tom slept together under our roof, and that Karen was pregnant before she was married, and that Heather has a boyfriend who is coloured, and that Christopher was born out of my wedlock. Now, those 4 things make us different to everybody else, perhaps. There are a lot of families who may have one or other of those things happen to them, but they won't speak up and say that they have, or be able to tell anybody how they've dealt with it. And this is where the tragedy of it comes in, because so many people are afraid to say.
I think there were a number of things said in the first programme which upset certain people. Such as the fact, if I might mention it, the fact that the little boy was illegitimate. And I think if the producer hadn't had this sort of thing in the first programme, it wouldn't have put people's backs up so much.
Terrible thing.
I think it was rather wrong to do.
I know what you mean. It's a terrible thing, is honesty. Terrible thing.
Yeah.
In fact, it's so rare these days, is honesty, that it's a gimmick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really is.
During the series, Heather revealed her hate of school, teenage frustration at being misunderstood, her relationship with boyfriend Melvin. What's been the result of her honesty?
I've got 2 letters I had about Malvin, right? And one just had you dirty, stinking, filthy nigger lover. Well, I laughed my head off. It didn't bother me at all. Because I couldn't give a damn, nor could Malvin. But they don't have the guts to put their name and address. Because they probably think you go up there and punch their head in, which I wouldn't. I'd go up and explain why. Because, honestly, so Malvin might be a different colour to me, but if he cuts himself, he bleeds. Same as I do. And when he bleeds, his blood ain't orange or green or yellow. It's red, quite the same as mine is. And in some cases, when I've cut myself, my blood has been darker than Malvin's. So he's still just as much human as anybody else.
I hope she doesn't get married too young. I don't want her to, if I can help it. because I'd like her to see a little bit more of life. And so really, you know, she's still only 15.
So far we're getting engaged on my birthday, September the 23rd.
You don't tell Heather not to do anything, because the more you tell her not to do it, she'll do it all the more.
But on the other, Heather's a good kid. She's got some nice ways
She
about
has
her.
got some really nice
She has.
points. And I think once she leaves school, and she gets her job, a hairdressing job, which is what she wants.
And that's what she really wants.
And then when she gets out to work and gets some money in her pocket, and
she'll be all right then.
I don't know how Heather's mother and dad, you know, father feels about mixed marriages as far as Melvin and Heather's concerned,
I've got
you know.
to adjust to it now, though, Jean.
I don't know if they ever will get married.
Not even I could say that.
No, but I'd like to see them get married. You know, because I think they make a good couple, a good pair together. You know, I think paired up. Melvin is, sort of keeps Heather, because Heather's got a filthy temper like me.
Yeah, he keeps my temper down, doesn't
And
he?
he keeps her temper down, and also Heather keeps Melvin out of trouble, which he would get into, I feel, if Heather wasn't
Well,
with
I
him.
said to him
you know.
that if he goes with them and he gets put away, then don't expect me to want him afterwards or to come and see him. So he stopped, didn't he?
I'm rather worried about... She had quite a lot of pulling over colour prejudice with Melvin being a coloured boy. I don't know if she can stand it. She seems to be laughing off at the moment, but time will tell again there.
Stay down!
Oh, Melvin, you're kicking dust all over the place. Melvin, will you leave him alone?
You always stop. Get in.
Look at the bit there in the poor little thing. There, you know. Tyke. You go back in there and hit him again, your father give you a snap right in the mouth, because you're too big and leery.
I mean, she's talking that she wants to get engaged on her birthday. Well, I won't stop it. I can't really stop it, because they can still consider themselves engaged, whether I like it or not. But an engagement isn't irrevocable, is it?
With no savings, no council house points, marriage for Heather will start another cycle of frustration, for living with mum or in-laws can produce intolerable pressures.
I had my mother here for 2 years, and I took an overdose of tablets while she was here, because, you know, it got me down so much. And then my mother got a place, and then just after my mother got a place, Michelle and John were turned out with a caravan that they were in, so there was no alternative but to, you know, to have them here. You know, although we knew we wouldn't get on very well. We sort of didn't have any options. So now I've had my mother for 2 years. Now I've got Michelle and the baby for I don't know how long until the council decide, you know, that they give her a house. And it meant, you know, by the time I've got sort of rid of them, and then Heather and Melvin decide to get married, I've got them again. You know.
Now, we've got the MP for Reading here, is Dr. Jerry Vaughan. Dr. Vaughan, has the national appearance of a Reading family, has it done anything to the town, for the town, or against the town?
It's upset a lot of people in the town.
Why?
I've had a lot of letters from people who thought that it was bringing the town a bad name, and that it was a boring programme. I think that's the thing that most people have written to me about.
One of the problems is that people have simply jumped the gate too soon. We will, by the end of 12 episodes, have made a complete statement.
What is the purpose of it all?
Right.
What is the point of these programmes?
I anticipate doing a piece about marriage, but I will try and relate it to the question of housing, the question of overcrowding, the question of where a mother stands in terms of morality, and where she stands in terms of simply being able to provide an extra room. This is what the series is about. This is what it's been about, but we haven't finished it, and everyone's been beating us before it's finished.
Would you say that it was running a peep show? I mean, be honest about it.
Yes,
it was.
I think.
Do you think it was running?
Sadly, I think I would. Actually.
No, that's fair. Don't be sad about it.
I keep coming back to this in my mind. You know, what really are they trying to do?
Well, I'm not a film star.
You are in
Oh,
a
Christ,
way.
don't be daft.
Yes, you are.
A film star is an actor.
That's
A
what
woman
film
came to me the other day,
stars
she
say we
said, how much do you get paid for your acting? I said, I don't act. I said, the only time I've acted is in a school play. So I said, the only time and the last time I've acted. She said, oh, do you mean it's all real? I said, of course it is. I said, what's it say in the paper, the real life story? And I guess my back something rotten.
And twice they wrote back to me and said, we still haven't got your money, you're in arrears. Then I had another letter through, when was it, last week? week before. So if they don't receive money in 7 days, they take further action. So I've wrote back and told them what they can do with their bloody club. And look, if they don't get their books right, I will pay them up completely and I won't have no more stuff off them.
Yeah, I had one fella last night, actually. He said, where you going? I said, I'm going over to the canteen to watch the programme. He said, well, I'll tell you here to your face. He said, although you're here. He said, I've seen that for 10 minutes, he said. And I've turned back over. I said, why is that then? He said, Marion and Tom.
As I say, right, I've gone it until that does the part, right? Every other word he uses that, right? But because he gets paid for that, right, he can get away with it. And people accept that. And these people who've wrote in and said to us, right, well, that programme is disgusting, right? They don't like us swearing. But yeah, they watch I've gone it because in the top rating, till that does do part, has always been in the top 3. So therefore, because they can do it and they get paid for it, they watch and listen, and they will. They glue. But because we do it, and we're just ordinary folks, and we're not getting paid actors' fees, they condemn us. Like that.
Yeah, father hasn't come across too well to me. Mother's look too much like the dominant partner, you know. Yeah, I know for a fact that if father doesn't agree with something, he'll turn around and soon tell her. Yeah, I know for a fact that, I mean, a few people have said to me, I must admit, your man looks as if he's under the thumb, you know. But I know darn well that the fact that if something he doesn't agree with, he'll turn around and tell her, no. Simple as that. Father's not under the thumb.
Well, you don't know, do you?
Oh, you definitely.
Are you under the thumb, Gary?
No chance.
Get lost! I want to go and get him now.
Well, go on then. You have to wait for me.
We'll get on the bus. I'll take pushchair, you take him. We're taking the pushchair. I'm not walking around that table without it. It isn't too big to be got on a bus. Don't talk so wet.
To yourself.
All right, I'm 40, coming up now. I'm quite content to stop where I am in the buses. All right, perhaps later on I might go for an inspector's job if I'm any luck with it, but not yet. I'm quite content. I like meeting people, and being on one-man operating buses, I can meet people and talk to people, and I get a great kick out of this. And as I say, perhaps later on, 5, 6, 7 years' time, when I don't want to do too much driving, fair enough. I'll see if I can get an inspector's job and come off the road and let somebody else have a go.
I'm always optimistic about the future, because I think life is what you make it a lot of the time. And if I just want to sit back and do nothing, then I'll never get anywhere.
I can't really say because I've not really thought about what I'm going to do, you know. I'm just going to take it as it comes. I'm not making any plans or anything because it's a waste of time. I feel if you're making any plans, then by the time that comes round, ow, you sod, you never do it anyway. So I feel, to me, it's just a waste of time making plans for the future. When he gets into school, that's the only plans I've made is to get myself a job. That's if I haven't got another baby. Baby.
You won't have another
baby.
You won't.
I will.
That'll be just your excuse to go
I'm
to work,
not just
won't it?
having one child. When he's 2, I'm going to fall for another baby. So that means he'll be near enough 3 before I have another one. And I mean it, Gary.
When he's
I want
2,
another one.
when's that? Another
In January.
6 months, isn't it?
2.
So, right. You have to get somebody else then.
May. I want to fall in May. That's all I wanted to do in life, was to get married and have kiddies. And that's all what I've done. I don't want none.
Not as many as your mother either.
I don't want as many as my mother.
Right,
I want 2.
Yeah, you said if the other one's another boy, we try again to go girl, and that's how it will go on. When I'm old enough, I shall start driving. Well, you know, I'm old enough to drive now, but I mean driving the big stuff, you know. And
what do you mean? Lorries?
Big vehicles, lorries and that.
Yeah, but by that time it's got to be grown up. So I wouldn't be too lonely. He'd be old enough to be what? By the time you get on there, if you ever get on there, you'll be what?
Well, when father was on long distance driving, she had 4 children.
I'm not on about your mother.
They're all
I'm not
quite
on about
old.
your
And
mother.
she's still got quite lonely.
I'm not on of course you're doing your husband's way, Twee. But I'm just saying, how old would Scott be when you start on that, if you ever do? He'll be, what, 16?
Oh, come off it. He's not even 2 yet. He'll be about
That's only
6.
14 years.
14?
Well, when do you intend going on then?
You only have to be 21.
Well, when he's
He'll be about
36, then I'll be
5, 6.
out.
Out where?
Out? Anywhere.
Working.
No, like hell I will.
I'm so excited what you said. You can have another baby.
Well, I'll be out anyway, but I've got another one or not. I wouldn't stay in.
You wouldn't mind it then?
What?
Me being away a couple of nights a week.
What do you mean a couple of nights? More like every week.
Yeah, but every week, continuous, wouldn't it? Like Father was. When you go to Devon for like 3 days, you have to sleep away, don't
No,
you?
I wouldn't like it, but if that's what you wanted to do, then I couldn't
Yeah, that's what I
stop
want
you,
to do.
could I?
No doubt about that. That is my number one.
No, I'll
Long
get
distance holiday.
lonely. Other than being lonely, I think that him being away so often, we wouldn't get on one another's nerves so much. But I think we'd be what? We'd understand each other better, wouldn't we? If he was away so long.
Mm.
And it might be hard on Scott, knowing that his dad would be away for so long. We'd probably call him as a stranger, I expect. But if that started, he didn't recognise him when he come home, and I'd have to tell him to stop.
No, wouldn't swap this for the world. Fantastic.
I do worry a little bit about Karen and Gary sometimes, you know, because they were married so young, and I can see Terry and myself in them 20 years ago. And I do worry a little bit that they may be caught up in the business of just living their life and nothing more. I'd like to see them take a little more interest in things outside, together, and not so much Karen being tied to the home and Gary being able to get out a bit more.
Do you honestly feel that you haven't lumbered them? Do you feel that you might have helped them? Which of the two do you feel as an honest man?
I would hope we haven't lumbered them. I think, in fact, they've probably been lumbered in one sense, and that's they've gained more members of their family. I think we're all extremely close to them. If anybody said anything against the family, you'd get one of us would scratch their eyes out quicker than Margaret could. And likewise, if we're attacked, I think there's a great clannishness about the Wilkins. They'd gang on whoever was attacking us. But I think, on the other hand, there has been an element of self-discovery, if you like. It's a pompous word, but there has been a putting them on the spot. There are times where I have juxtaposed shots, my choice, and said, I believe this is the Wilkins. And sometimes they've realised it, and other times they've suddenly realised it watching the film. What we haven't done is left them alone to watch the film without anybody being there.
This seems to me a bit of a gimmick. And I wonder, really, when everyone gets down to it, whether it's genuine and whether they're really going to be glad that they've done this.
There have been odd times when I felt a little bit down, but I certainly wouldn't give up the programme, definitely not.
Right.
We start something, we finish it.
Right.
This sort of thing is a great strain over a period of time.
No worries there.
No worries there?
No.
You want to find it a strain?
We enjoy it.
It
No
hasn't,
strain on us whatsoever.
hasn't taxed you getting up at 11 o'clock in the morning, has it, or anything like that?
11 o'clock in the morning. I'll have you know, I was up at 4 o'clock this morning.
Back from their honeymoon, and the foreseeable future is resolved for Mrs. Burns, a status she thought she'd never achieve.
And the only thing is I just can't get used to is, you know, the changing of the name and everything. Somebody called me Marion Wilkins last night and I turned around and answered him.
I mean, I think she summed it up when we were over on our honeymoon and that. We passed the wishing well. And I said, well, you're going to put a penny in? She says, no, I've no need to wish anymore. Do away with chicken bones and all that.
Yeah,
So there's no need to do it anymore
throw
now.
away my wish bones now. Forgot me wish.
What are we doing for tea anyway tonight?
No, don't ask me.
Oh, come on.
I ain't got nothing.
Oh, aren't we all right?
I've got no saucepans, I've got no big plates, I've got nothing down there.
You haven't?
No.
So
I can't bring it all at once.
All right then, all right, don't keep on. So what are we doing, dining out then or what?
Oh, I don't know.
Dining out, fish shops down the road, isn't it?
Yeah.
We stopped South Sea Sunday, and then we went over on the ferry. That's a nice bit of stuff. Where is that? I couldn't find a pub where we could have a nice game of dominoes right?
What was the first night like then,
no
sir?
dominoes. All right, not too bad at all. Apart from people keep bothering us and all that.
Many say Tom married reluctantly, pressured by Marion into a TV wedding. We filmed his reactions after episode 2, when the pressure was really on.
I said, if they make it look on television that I've been pressurised into marriage, which I'm not.
Tom, we are giving you a certain amount of pressure. Now, come on.
Right,
listen. I keep on at you often enough, so I must be pressurising you of some sort.
Well, you didn't give me an ultimatum.
I did. You've just seen it on the television.
You
I
had
must
that,
have done.
yeah. So everybody else has seen that.
Well, that's all right. I mean,
Tom.
that's what I gave you.
Tom, I'm not kidding you. I really think you'll come out of that very, very well.
But at the same
In
time...
fact, we're going to be made to look fools, I think, because we're going to be getting people onto us for getting on it, you so.
I've never had an ultimatum before.
Ultimatum.
Ultimatum, whatever you like to call it. Where we come from, we call it what I want to call it, right? But we've never had one of them things what she just said before, right?
Oh, sorry, Tom, but it does sound funny.
She can't even talk, can you? You can't even talk.
You can't laugh. Come on.
Probably got a banger in the end of my cigarette here.
The family believe that public exposure has made little difference to their future, except Tom, who has been affected by public acclaim. Starstruck, he seeks a new job.
I'd like to be a comedian now, because I think I can tell a joke. People from Cornwall, Devon, Newcastle, Edinburgh, Scotland, all over saying, I've got to tell them back home and all that, like, you know. Could you just sign this, like, you know. And I thought, well, if they all know me and they all like the programme and all that, I mean, I've got a head start. It's a shame to see such stuff like that go to waste. And I wouldn't mind, you know, giving it a go anyway, because otherwise I'd be sort of sat down for the rest of my life say, well, look, you had your chance then and you never took it. And I've got my chance now and I intend to make the most of it. The only thing what we'll miss is when the lads finish and that, is the lads all around and that, like, you know, on the cameras and all that, because we've got so used to it now. It's going to be different to,
It's not going to really be all that different, you know, because when you
Well, it won't be
about
much really different because...
we don't notice they're here half the time anyway.
I'll tell you who might miss it a bit and that, first off, is that, is your mum Margaret and that. Because with us living in the house and Karen and that, plus the camera crew,
Going
right,
as well,
going...
yeah.
The place was really packed, like, you know, and then all of a sudden,
It's gonna be empty.
they've gone, we go, film set, you know, the camera crew, they've done their job, the series ends and that, and she suddenly finds that one day the old man's on late, Heather's gone out with the boyfriend, and she suddenly finds herself alone, sort of thing.
If you don't expect a lot out of something, then you don't get disappointed if you don't get it. So therefore we've had no great expectations at the end of this programme. We expect our life to stay as it's always been. So therefore we've not expected it to be any different. So and in that way nobody's going to be let down. And our life does carry on the same as it's done before and during the filming, and I expect afterwards. And that's the way we wanted it to be. I think if you remember right in the beginning, I did say that I hope, in a way, nobody does get anything out of this, because that way none of us will change. And I think there can be a lot of pitfalls if somebody suddenly became an actor or an actress or a model out of something like this. I think it could be disastrous, because it takes you away from your family.
Well, that was where the series of programmes ended in 1974. Next week, the final extended programme in this series brings us right up to date with a follow-up that highlights what happened to the Wilkins family in the intervening years after the few brief weeks of fame. That's next Saturday evening at 8:10.